Hey, Dave has two new poetry books. Marriage is just two people Googling separately, Love Poems in Need of Counseling, and Rise and Speak, Poems for Justice and Hope. Check them out now on Amazon or wherever great books are sold. Thanks.
Welcome to Daily Gains. I'm Dave Joseph.
I'm Jeremy.
And we're excited to share the word with you as we meditate on the truth that is before us. So let's get started. 1 John 4:5. They are from the world. Therefore they speak as from the world, and the world listens to them.
They are from the world. Therefore they speak as the world, and the world listens to them.
May God bless the reading, hearing, and living out of his word.
And may He protect us from being deceived.
Yeah.
So these are the spirit of Antichrist that John's just referred to in the previous verse. That he's warned us in verse 1 to not believe every spirit, but to test them all. Now we have to test. We have an implied secondary test here. Does the world listen to this argument? If they do, it's not from God.
That's hard.
That is. But you know what? Let's switch gears here. And I've been really wanting to talk about why the church needs to be more relevant.
Okay. I'm curious.
Sorry, that was a big stone to throw. Yeah, it is hard. If we're making an argument, the world says yes to that, then we're making an argument that John is saying, watch out, that's from Antichrist.
And so, good question then. When it comes to church partnering with organizations that are not Christ-centered, how does that work? Or is that even relevant to this text?
I don't think that that's relevant to the text, but I answer it this way. This is one of those render to Caesar what's Caesar's and render to God what's God's. And Christ saying to the disciples, if they're not for us, they're against me. If they're not against me, they're for me. If what you're doing as a secular organization lines up with what God's will is for his world, then partnering with that is, I think, well within what we've been called to do as ambassadors from the kingdom of God. I don't think it necessarily stays there. I don't think it necessarily doesn't change. Even as I said, what I said a moment ago, that if the world accepts this argument, it's not from God, that can lead to its own arrogant stance.
And that was part of why I asked the question.
Yeah, I think it's very insightful. Because there are plenty of churches that find their identity, that build their identity on the fact that they stand against the world. This church, contra mundo, against the world. How do you know that we're following God? Because everyone around us hates us. Well, I think that's a very bad way of understanding what John is saying here.
Mm-hmm. I would agree. I do agree.
I know you do.
I think this text is challenging us to reconcile that we are called to love. Mm-hmm. That we are called to be gentle.
It's kind of important in this epistle. Love pops up a few times.
Again, I'm going back to the fruit of the Spirit. As this comes out, it should cause people, you would hope, to turn to Christ. Mm-hmm. But the reality of this text is that when we talk about a group that is anti-Christ, that's not the response you should expect.
Right.
Because you are doing the things that are of Christ. Right. And so when I'm loving someone who is opposed to what Christ has said and is doing, will not like it.
Yes.
They will try and redefine it. They'll try to bury it. Mm-hmm. They'll try many things to pull you away from your purpose, his pleasure, as well as the understanding that he is your provider, he is your shepherd, your pastor, like he's there for you. They'll try and pull you away from that. And that's not okay.
Yeah. I'm going to give two illustrations here, one less controversial than the other. The body positivity movement that's been present for the last, we'll say decade or so, is one that has particular statements of truth that are associated with it. Fat shaming is bad, causing someone shame because of their body is a bad thing, or someone having their identity, their self-esteem brought low because they don't meet some body image that's been elevated or sexualized is a bad thing. I agree with all that. But some parts of this movement have gone further to say there's no such thing as too fat. There's no such thing as unhealthy. There's just how you feel about it. And if you feel bad, then you're in the wrong. And anyone who makes you feel bad should also be in the wrong. There's a point at which I can go along with the body positivity idea and say, these things I agree with. Causing someone shame is bad. Putting forward a false image of what a body could or should look like is bad. It's false. It's bad because it's not true. But equally untrue is a statement that I should give my kid whatever they want to eat, and regardless of how heavy they are, I should say they're healthy, because that's also false. Now, that's not a particularly challenging issue for the church.
Mm-hmm.
So what is? LGBTQ ideas. How do we engage with an argument that says people should not be shamed for how they feel? People should not be shamed for how they love. People should be encouraged to explore who they are, identify who they feel like they are, and not be brought into a place of abuse based on who they think, who they determine they are. Well, as a church, I can say, here's what I agree with. I agree people should not be abused. People should not be mistreated because of whatever condition they find themselves in. I can agree with you there. And so if you, as an LGBTQ organization, are saying we're working for the protection of LGBTQ populations because where they live, they're under assault from people who want to do them harm, physical harm, social harm by rejecting them from society, cutting them off from access to the things that they need for life. I can say, yeah, I can stand with that. But once you go to a place of saying, and we're also fighting to say everything that a person says about their sexual identity or their orientation or their desires or their whatever it might be needs to be honored, needs to be recognized as being true because they have said it, and needs to be supported. I say, oh, I'm sorry, that goes past where I can go. Because that, like in the first example, goes past the boundaries of truth. I'm bringing these both up because I think the question that you asked is a good question. And I think that we need to deal with these, specifically the second one, both better and more honestly as a church than we have. Because we kind of take this binary approach where either I'm pro-LGBTQ or I'm anti-LGBTQ. And so a person who happens to identify in a particular way, in a particular moment, can say to me, does your church LGBTQ? And I can say either yes or no. You're either going to be comfortable and welcomed and embraced and supported, or you're going to be rejected and pushed out. It ought not to be that way. Any more than the person who is a heroin addict, a tax liar, whatever that person's called, a thief, a robber, a car salesman, whatever your sin might be. I shouldn't be able to answer the question, is your church pro car salesman? Like, no, we're an anti-car salesman. If you come here in your checkered suit coat trying to sell that used car marked up $8,000 that you can walk away with it, no, we're gonna there's a 17th ring of hell we believe is reserved for you. Oh no, we are definitely a used car salesman church. We embrace, we believe that's one of the lines of color in our thing. It ought not to be that way. It ought to be that we are a church built of sinners who have been saved by grace out of and continue to be restored through the sin that we continue to struggle with until the point that God brings us into glory and perfects us ultimately. But this is mediated by what is true. And this again goes back to He is the Lord, and so He's the one who gets to determine what's true. I get to say, okay, well, that's this either meets that standard or it doesn't.
They are from the world, therefore they speak as from the world, and the world listens to them. I think the big question for me is, what are we listening to? Placing our hope in them, and therefore that's why we're listening to them.
Mm.
Am I placing my hope in the stock market? Am I placing my hope in some new yoga something? Am I, again, what am I excited about that is not of God? And what got me there? Because often that tells me what I've been listening to. So the first thing I do when I get in the car is to, yes, I'm repenting right now, is to turn on Bloomberg or something like that. Then
Right.
I'm listening to the stocks before I take time to listen to God. And it doesn't mean I need to listen to a sermon, just having a quiet time,
Right.
yielding the moment. What do you want me to do? I have my plans, but what do you want me to do? If I'm not listening to God, then am I going to obey? And so if he's telling me to go right, left, north, whatever, and I'm not listening, therefore I think he's not there, I've missed the moment. So I see this more from am I taking the time to really hear from God,
Mm.
to allow him to examine my heart, to be honest with others as we share one another's burdens. Again, listening to them, they're the body. And also listening to his spirit.
Yeah. So I'm looking over here at the eye is the lamp of the body.
Mm.
And if the eye is good, then the body will be healthy. But if the eye is bad, and that word for bad there, I believe, is multiple. If you're seeing double vision, if you're seeing triple vision, how great is the darkness? What are we listening to? What are we looking at? And is our focus actually centered in God? Or are we being distracted? You find it?
No.
Okay, good. Don't prove how badly I misquoted that.
No.
I don't need that.
They can look it up. It's real scripture. It's okay. I know the verse. I'm not saving you.
Good. Thank you. Keep your eye on Christ. Look to him. Look to him alone. It's the only way to be stable in the midst of this. Thank you guys for coming with us. We'll talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.